Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Got Dr. No Days off here again, Dr. Williams. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the writing at a graduate level, writing at a doctoral level, right? I get a lot of responses and comments from my feedback about writing, at a graduate level. Uh, a lot of I get back actually is pretty good. Some I get back some challenges, some pushback, and I smile when I get the pushback because I always reflect on when I was in my doctoral journey, and I would read some comments from some of my professors and be like, well, I didn't know about that, or well, why am I being taught that now, or I'm not going to do that, I'm not going to write like this, or I'm not going to say that way because whatever the reason may be. I remember those days, right? And I remember just sitting back because I'm a writer. That's what I do. I'm an author. I already have 3 books out. I'm a writer. I love to write. I write all the time, and I write different methods and variations. I write by typing, and I actually still writing. I have like a over 100 different colorful pens that and journals that I like to write in because I'm a writer. I love to write. And one of the things that I had to learn when I became a doctoral student is that the writing at a doctoral level is completely different from writing at any other level. When I came in my doctoral program, I was told about the writing, and I was like, okay, well, I got that. That's the easy part for me because I love to write, right? Well, ladies and gentlemen, that it wasn't that easy. Okay, I had to learn how to write a different way. There are different methods of writing. There's different ways to write, and the way you write in your academic at the doctoral level, ladies and gentlemen, it's not the way you write in undergrad level. It's not even the way you write at a master's level. I get the pushback too. Well, I read a book and the book does it like that. Well, a book format is completely different from a dissertation format. Okay, a book format is completely different from an academic format or what's acceptable. And as a person that my company, one of our services that we provide is professional editing. I actually edit doctoral students' dissertations on a consistent basis. I have 2 or 3 sitting on my desk right now that we are working on editing. And one of the things that I see a lot is I see the same old. And so one of the things that I worked on doing is I let my students know right off the bat, hey, listen, we're going to start practicing doctoral, dissertation writing because the moment you get disciplined, you need to discipline your mind on how to write in a dissertation, then it's going to be a lot easier, a lot smoother for you. And being a chair before and being on a dissertation committee, I understand and I know the criteria and what it takes for a student. And I see the students' faces many a times is when a committee member or a chair comes back to them and say, hey, you need to improve your writing. Hey, you need to send this over to an editor. There's one university that I edit dissertations for. They make every last one of their doctoral students pay for a professional editor to before they actually confer or before they actually defend their dissertation. They have to send their dissertation, and they got to pay for it out of their pocket, right? To send a dissertation to a professional editor. And I get those dissertations, and it's amazing how I see that a lot of students don't pick it up, or I don't know why. Either they never understood it, or they just ignored it, or they never had a professor that actually showed it to them. But it's traumatic for them to go through that process in the editing process, and then to say, well, this is not how you say that. This is how you say this. This is how you do that. And the response we always get is, oh my gosh, I read my edited dissertation, after and your company completed it, and I read what I wrote at first, and I had made them say, I sound like a kindergartner, right? And it's not to embarrass anybody. It's not to make you feel bad or anything of that nature, ladies and gentlemen. It's a new way of learning to write. It's a new it's something that at the doctoral level that you need to accept, right? To be a successful doctoral student is that you're going to learn something new at this level. I never forget. I remember when I took a course, one of my first courses, and I went to write, turn in one of my first assignments, and I wrote my assignment. And I would tell you right now, the assignments that I see now are way easier than the assignments I had. My average was 5 to 10 pages a week that we were writing. Okay. And my professor just ate me alive. I mean, literally ate me alive. And yeah, I'm not even gonna lie to you. My feelings got touched on a little bit because I'm like, wait a minute, I'm a great writer. How in the world can she tell me that I don't know how? Oh yeah, but once I got, you know, I, I got rid of the emotions, right? Um, Learn to take the emotions out of stuff. I took the emotion out of it. I look back, I sat back, and I say, you know what? Why am I complaining? Because if I already knew what I was doing, I wouldn't be here. I already have what it is that I'm searching for right now. That person right there is the professional. See, they've already been through that process. That professor, that doctor sitting on the other side of the table, they've been through that process. Okay, and I never forget. I had a great chair, love her to death with her, and I'm still in contact, even though years later I'm no longer her student. But I love everything that she did to help me become a better writer. And so now I know how to write in different arenas and different platforms. And so the way I write my book is not the way that I would write an academic paper. The way I write my academic paper is not the way I would type out an email, right? So that's one of the things that being in a graduate writing experience that you must learn, that is you must learn a new way to write, right, and be acceptable for that. Okay, it might not be something you're comfortable with, but if you are supposed to be comfortable in this process, then ladies and gentlemen, the process is not for you. If you're supposed to be comfortable, this process is not going to be comfortable at times. There's some times that where you're going to be comfortable. Then sometimes you're going to be very uncomfortable. And if you cannot handle being uncomfortable, ladies and gentlemen, then you probably want to reconsider why you're here. Okay. And I'm gonna say that to say that no one deserves to be here, because if you're here, you already deserve to be here. It's just the fact that is you still got to do the work to complete it, right? If you're here, it's because you deserve to be here, but you still got to go to work, all right? And then understand, even at the doctoral level, I don't care how long you've been in your profession. I don't care what title you hold at your organization. You can be sitting at the very top. I literally had CEO as a student of mine before, not necessarily with this college, but I had a student of mine that was a CEO of a Fortune, Fortune 100, I think is what they call, but very large company, highly successful man, right? He wanted to complete his doctoral because that was a personal goal of his, and being a CEO and being that he communicates on a consistent basis, writing and different things like that. At first he was not welcome of my feedback, because he held in the fact that, well, I'm a CEO of a company and you're just a professor. Little did he know I'm a CEO of my own company too, but he's just a professor, so how can he tell me? And then it was just a quick story, but then he was just telling me that he had a conversation with somebody in his company, one of his executives, and he come to find out, I forgot what the conversation was exactly, but basically it changed his mindset, to thinking like, you know what, I'm here for a reason. I'm here to learn something new, right? I'm here to learn. I'm not here to be the person to say, well, I know everything, so because I know everything, then I should automatically just breeze through this stuff and all that good thing. And no, I don't need to change anything because I'm already successful in what I do. But ladies and gentlemen, if that's the case, then why are you here? Okay, while you're here. And understand something. When I was in my doctoral journey, I have a doctoral in executive leadership. I've been in leadership for decades, and not just organizational leadership, ladies and gentlemen. I have been in leadership in many different ways, many different platforms in my personal life, right? In my professional life, in my military life. I've been in all different forms of leadership. And my leadership is not based off of a role. It's not based off of a position of a job, right? I don't care about leadership, a position that's called leadership. I think positional leadership is the lowest form of leadership because without that position, do people really follow you? Do people really listen to you, right? You know, it's a saying we say in the military all the time. You take your rank off and you go into battle. Will your soldiers and will they still follow you? And a lot of people would get the answer, no. The only reason they follow you is because they have to. They're made to because that's your rank, that's your position. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the lowest form of leadership. You take it off. Will they still listen to you? Will they still follow you as a result of you and the leader you are, right? So knowing that, I walked into my research and I had to remove my biases. I had to remove my prejudices. I had to say, okay, I'm here to learn something new. Because if you don't open up your mind, discipline your mind to learn something new, then ladies and gentlemen, you're going to lock yourself out of a great opportunity to improve. You're going to lock yourself out of a great opportunity to be a better person because you have a goal that you're working to reach, right? And if you have a goal you're working to reach, if you have to grow into the person that can reach that goal. The person that you are now cannot reach that goal because if you could, you would have already reached the goal. It wouldn't be a goal; it'd just be completed, right? So you have to grow into the person that can reach the goal that you set for yourself. And if you, like me, you set the bar high, right, and you're going for something big, then you know for a fact you're gonna have to grow. So you got to remove those biases. You got to remove those prejudices and say, okay, what is it that I can learn new? I had to learn that, I had to stop learning to write in past tense. I didn't even realize I was writing in past tense my entire life until I took this one class where we couldn't write anything in past tense. It was difficult, right? Because I was so used to it for so many years. My mind was conditioned to doing past tense. Now I can recognize when I'm writing in past tense and I can recognize when I'm not. Okay. The way I had to write my dissertation, it's not the way I wrote my book, right? I started my book and I started sentences with it. I started sentences with this and that and stuff like that because it was conversational, right? Your dissertation is more of a presentation, right? It's an academic presentation, it's professional. Okay, so just understand that your graduate writing experience is here to help you improve as a person, not just as a student, right? Remember, you're going to become that subject matter expert. And when you become that subject matter expert, and if you cannot write like that subject matter expert at SME, if you cannot communicate like that subject matter expert, then ladies and gentlemen, are you really the subject matter expert, or are you just another person that got a piece of paper with a title in front of their name, and that's it? Because I've met plenty of them too. Okay, but there are some great ones out here, and I'm very grateful for my department chair because she taught me that yeah, you can be just as experienced as you want to be, but there's always something to learn at another level, right? Because real true success and with real true leadership success is relative. Is leadership success is always relative, which means there's always another level. There's always another level. So once you reach a level, and if you're comfortable with that level, fine. That if you're comfortable, you're comfortable. But understand, there's always another level, right? It doesn't matter. It's always another level to it. And to be more well-rounded as a leader, to be more well-rounded as a person, then you have to understand and to remove biases and prejudices that's going to stop you from learning how to write in a different way, right? And then you have a professor like myself that say, you know what? I'm not going to wait until they reach their dissertation level to say this is how you need to start writing. Okay, because that's what's happening to a lot of students. Now I'm not saying that's a bad thing, right? It's not a bad thing. I'm just saying, but me as a student, doctoral student, when I got to my dissertation level and all I have is my dissertation to take care of, I wish I would have had a professor, which I did in the process, but I wish I would have had a professor in my master's level taught me how to tell me, hey, Dr. Williams, you're going to have to learn how to write a different way. You understand that, right? Okay, great. I would have been very acceptable of that, and that way, because I like to be prepared, for taking off on my journey. It's just like with anything, when you go on a trip, you like to make sure you have everything that you possibly need to be successful and complete that trip successfully. So I'm the same way. So, ladies and gentlemen, understand that, I hope you understand what I'm saying here and letting you know that, hey, we're here to help you improve. We're here to help you grow. And Dr. Williams is gonna ensure that you're gonna start learning how to write at a graduate level, at a doctoral level, so that when you get to your dissertation, you don't have to have take all this time trying working to fix your wording, or pay a professional editor like myself thousands of dollars because you got to have your dissertation edited because it doesn't read like a well-polished dissertation. So, ladies and gentlemen, much success to you on your doctoral journey. I'll see you at the top.